I never asked to hear alien voices in my sleep, but the moment I did, everything I thought I knew unraveled like star-lace silk caught in a turbine. My name is Virith. I'm a signal archivist aboard Cradle Station Z-88, orbiting the faded ember. Of Elethera Prime, we catalogue lost transmissions, broken echoes from dead colonies, failed probes, or inexplicable noise squalls that drift across the cosmic vacuum. A quiet job, a forgettable one. Until that night, a shriek ruptured my dream, not human, not machine, a primal plea that burrowed through static and latched onto my spinal cord. Human, help my mom. My alien mother is trapped in a savage hunting snare. The voice trembled, raspy, reverent, utterly alien. It wasn't routed through comms or recordings. It was the dream. I woke with my lungs clenched, sweat pooled beneath my back like swamp water. My ocular HUD blinked red with alerts. Unregistered signals pulsed from beyond the station's perimeter, a rhythmic heartbeat in the black. Protocols demanded I log it, catalogue, archive. But I couldn't. I felt it. I traced the signal to Sector G6, the outermost orbital reef where derelict vessels clung like barnacles on space debris. No one dared go there. It was a bone field of lost expeditions. But something compelled me. The signal. It called me by species, not name, not rank, species. That alone made it feel intimate, real. I took a drone skimmer out solo, against orders, no request filed. I lied to the docking AI, said I needed to recalibrate sensor drift. The drone hissed into the void, thin plasma sails catching photon winds like butterfly wings. Elethera Prime's burnt husk glowed far below, a bruised eye in the endless dark. Halfway through the reef, the temperature plunged. My environmental suite registered impossible cold. Something was draining entropy itself. Shipwrecks spun slowly in zero-G, their hulls torn by claws or claws shaped like tools. Symbols etched into one derelict's plating pulsed in ultraviolet. Ink I couldn't decipher, not yet, and then I saw her, floating amidst wreckage, wrapped in tangled synthetics and shimmering amber wire. A child. Not quite humanoid. Limbs too elongated, eyes like polished moonstone, skin etched with bioluminescent threads. Her gaze locked onto mine through the viewport. Her voice did not pass through speakers. She breathes still, but the wire sings poison. The trap is killing. Her, I blinked hard. Who are you? I asked aloud. No time. Cut the strand with light. No blades. Light. I hovered the drone closer. The wreckage trembled slightly as if aware. I fired a microtorch toward the snare. The instant the beam struck, the glowing threads, they screeched, recoiling like venomous serpents. I glimpsed something beneath. Another being, taller, regal, gasping. Her body flickered between forms, bipedal, quadruped, then stable. A helical shimmer like energy encased in flesh. Tattoos scrawled across her body in languages I couldn't read. One resembled Earth's oldest cuneiform. Another looked like code from forgotten AIs. Then the entire reef screamed. The transmission burst inside my skull. Not audio, not data, just raw presence. Something was watching. I accelerated out. Full burn? G-forces clawed my ribcage. The girl still floated alone, cradling the slumped figure. Before I lost visual, she whispered through my consciousness, "Your name is Virith. You are woven now." Back on Cradle Z-88, I filed a false report. Asteroid. Interference. No signal confirmed. Minor drift adjustment completed. But I couldn't stop trembling. 2 days later, I found her standing inside my private quarters. No alarms triggered. No entry logs. "You're not supposed to exist here," I said. She tilted her head. "Neither are you, not as you were." She stood without motion, as if still tethered to the dreamscape she first pierced through. The girl, no, the being, called herself Thalian. "My mother's still fading," she said, eyes unfocused. "But you've delayed the withering." "I don't understand," I muttered, fingers twitching toward the pulse-shard blade beneath my console desk. "You breached vacuum. Physics says, physics was written for species who fear change, she said, walking across the floor as if her feet barely touched it. You are not one of them anymore. The blade hummed, half awake under my palm. Tell me who you are. Tell me what I am now. Dalian blinked slowly. You're woven. My stomach clenched. That's myth. She frowned, and for a moment her shape flickered. Tendrils, fire, starlight, then stabilized again. It was a myth when you were divided. When you believed memory belonged only to meat. She turned her small, luminous hand upward, a thread of blue light unspooled from her palm, pure information in string form. A memory, encoded, but it wasn't hers. It was mine, my 16th year, stealing a data skipper off the maintenance grid, my first kiss with Serienne under the dead moons, my father's scream when his neural lattice fried during a pirate ambush. All of it, captured. You touched my mind. I didn't touch, Thalian said. I connected. It's what woven do. Your brain is no longer a box. It's a net. You let me in when you followed the signal thread. I backed up. What do you want? Thalian's face twisted, not with malice, but something more complicated, grief. My mother is called Entariel of the third thought line. She was taken by hunters who prey on minds. The lucid devourers, they don't just trap bodies, they rewrite essence. Like memory hackers. No, worse. They digest soul logic. What your kind might call love. I stared. You're saying, there's a species that feeds on emotional continuity. They feed on patterns of bond, and my mother was too strong. They built a trap from her own memories and tied her with it. But she sang out one pure signal, your name, Virith. It wrapped around a stranger. Why me? Because you remember. Most humans, she paused as if tasting the word, forget. You never let your pain be overwritten. You still grieve in sharp definition. That makes your lattice open. I dropped the blade. That night, the dreams returned. Thalian sat at the center of them, weaving. Strings of light twisted around her like silk threads on a loom. Each thread pulsed with color, anger, sorrow, laughter, betrayal. A tapestry of experience, and I saw the moment her mother fell. A ship, not like ours, grown, not built. Her crew sang coordinates into existence, bending stars. Then came a voice, a mirror of hers, but deeper, slicked with rot. Entariel, woven matron, you are invited to vanish. Something ancient descended claws. No, not claws, edit commands shaped like limbs. The dream dissolved. I jolted awake with blood in my ears. And I wasn't alone again. Thalian now sat beside someone else, a woman, tall, cold, pale blue skin laced with faint fractals. Her left eye was glass, the right glowed gold. Her uniform bore the insignia of Terran Inquest Command, long disbanded. You don't remember me, do you? She said. I stood slowly. Should I? Name's Commander Rellan Miriva. We trained on Coralis Citadel together until you defected. My blood iced. I never defected. She tossed a data crystal on my desk. It spun slowly, flickering. Images of me, secret meetings, transmissions to unknown coordinates, stolen artifacts. My voice, distorted but undeniably mine. This is deep fake, I snapped. She smiled thinly. Is it? Thalian stood, positioning herself slightly in front of me. She's been rewritten, she whispered. The devourers don't always kill. Sometimes they emulate. Mireva's smile twitched. I lunged for the data crystal. She fired. The pulse beam missed, but barely. Thalian raised her hands, threads of light coiling around them like snakes. She sang a note so high I couldn't hear it, but my teeth shattered with pain. Mireva screamed and vanished. Not teleported, unwound. Like someone hit undo on her whole timeline. Silence. I knew her, I whispered. She was overwritten. Thalian said softly, They used her body. You weren't supposed to survive the memory. I collapsed to the floor. My world kept rotating, but I didn't. That night, Tailian sat cross-legged on my floor, weaving light again. This time, the threads danced in softer colors. Hope, regret, maybe affection. Can I help you? Can I asked. She looked up. Only if you want to. I want to. She smiled. Just once. We worked in silence until dawn, repairing the signal thread her mother had used. Each pulse was encrypted with emotion, not code. You couldn't translate. You had to feel it. The final string sparked and vanished into the air. Then my console blinked. One word appeared. Lure set. Return to the bone field. She remembers. They call it the bone field, but bones don't drift in space. What floats there are husks of thought, shattered minds, lost histories, entire lifetimes diced into fragments and scattered like chaff on solar wind. As I approached the coordinates, embedded in the last signal, my drone skimmer began to resist. Not mechanically, psychologically. I felt it hesitate through the neural interface, as if it feared the approach. The ship knew what I did not. Thalian sat beside me, eyes closed, lips moving in a silent hum. I hadn't slept in 2 cycles. Not really, not since she opened my consciousness to the thread space. You're unraveling, she said without opening her eyes. I feel fine, I lied. You feel disconnected. That's not the same thing. Below us, the bone field sprawled, an orbiting graveyard of memory vessels, hivecraft, living ships, and ether chimes frozen mid-resonance. We entered a graveyard of forgotten philosophies. Suddenly, the silence shattered. My cockpit HUD screamed warnings in colors I'd never seen before, not just alerts, questions. Why are you here? What do you regret? Who do you miss? Then the voices began. They were mine. My mother's last conversation before she died of neural entropy. My first lover whispering, "Don't let go." Even my own voice, begging someone to remember me. The trap had activated. I slammed my fists into the override panel. No effect. Thalin's eyes flew open. They've anchored you. Don't fight the voices. Dive through them. Dive? I gasped, veins burning with heat. You must face the regret you've buried deepest. It's the anchor point. She touched my temple. Suddenly I was not in the cockpit. I stood barefoot in a city that no longer existed. Acheron Drift. The day it burned, I saw the skyline collapse in slow motion, explosions like dying roses. I saw myself, young, trembling, running toward a shuttle bay with a child in my arms. Not my child, Serayen's, her daughter. I had never told anyone, not even Tailian. A beam struck the deck behind me. The blast lifted me off my feet. The child screamed. My grip slipped. She fell. That was the memory I never allowed myself to confront. Now, the devourers fed on it. I felt them, presence, not form, pressing in like invisible snakes slithering across my skin. You left her, one hissed. Coward. Another sneered. You remember, so we remember. Thank you for the meal. The city began folding in on itself like origami made of light. I dropped to my knees, gasping, and then Thalian appeared beside me. Not illusion, not memory. Her. You didn't let her go, she said softly. She chose to trust you. That's what they're feeding on. The bond, not the break. How do I stop them? I choked. You don't. You thread it. She reached into her chest and pulled out a single glowing filament of blue, her life thread. I did the same, instinct guiding my hands. We wove them. Together, one loop at a time. The moment the final knot tightened, everything reversed. The devourers screamed. Light pulsed outward. The city shattered into stardust, and I was back in the cockpit, sweating through my suit. Below us, the trap had broken open, and inside, suspended in a prison of crystallized thought, floated a being so majestic I forgot how. To breathe, Entariel, tall, luminous, her form wrapped in flowing algorithms that shimmered like silk spun from the void. Her eyes opened, silver and violet, galaxies trapped behind her gaze. She looked at me. "You came," she said, "not to Thalen, to me." Before I could speak, something jolted the ship. Red lights, kinetic pressure, we were being boarded. "What is that?" I barked, snapping to the console. Thalen went rigid. They followed the signal. "It's not just devourers now, it's humans too. Your kind, hunters, traitors." The name bloomed in my mind, uninvited and cold. Varani's core, a name I hadn't heard in 12 years. Once my mentor, now a legend among the extractors, a rogue. Terran sect that specialized in harvesting alien memory. They didn't seek knowledge, they mined pain for profit. He appeared on the comm screen, half his face replaced with synthetic bone plate, eyes burning with psychotropic fire. Well, Virith, Varanis drawled. "Still saving ghosts?" "I'm saving a life," I growled. "Same difference," he said, almost affectionately. "But I'll be taking the matron. Woven memory fetches a steep price." He nodded at something off-screen. "Take the girl." "Two, her brain still pliable." Thalian clenched her fists. "I will not be unmade." Entariel opened her eyes wide, and the crystal cocoon cracked. Varanis smirked. "Do you really think you can outfight us with light and lullabies?" "I trained you." I narrowed my eyes. "You trained who I was, not what I've become." I reached for the only weapon Thalen and I had, the thread. Together we sang, not with voice but with memory. We sang the birth of a star. We sang the grief of a father burying his son. We sang truths they couldn't steal because they weren't secrets. They were offered. The boarding crew howled, their minds fractured under the onslaught of raw emotional resonance. Varanis tried to scream, but no sound came. His face melted into confusion, then rage, then recognition. "You were never supposed to survive Acheron," he whispered. "The child, she was—" Thalen reached through the cockpit viewport, her hand glowing, and pulled Entariel. Free. The matron landed silently on the deck, eyes blazing. "I remember you," she said to Varanis. "I remember what you did to my sisters." And then she sang. Just once. The ship buckled. Reality folded. Varanis vanished, screaming into a point of nothing, silence. Entariel turned to me, studying my face. "You're the only human who ever wove willingly," she said. "You didn't just connect to the thread. You became part of it." "I didn't do it alone," I said, looking at Thalen. The matron turned to her daughter and whispered something I couldn't understand. An ancient language braided with emotion and logic. Thalen's eyes filled with tears. Then she turned to me. She said, "I must go with you." I blinked. "Why?" "Because I was never her child," Thalen whispered. "I was yours." Thalen was mine, not metaphorically, not philosophically, not spiritually, biologically, chronologically, irrevocably, but that couldn't be right. She was woven, a being of fractal light and cognitive resonance. I was just a man, broken, buried under half-finished memories and too many regrets. I'd never fathered anyone, not in any way I could remember. "You're lying," I breathed. "No," Entariel said gently. "You simply forgot. She was born in the space between your sorrow and sacrifice." Thalen stepped forward. "The moment you tried to save Sarayan's daughter, your intention, your agony, your choice, it didn't vanish. The woven caught it. They preserved it." My mouth went dry. "You made her from my grief?" "From your memory of love," the matron corrected. "Not the event, the echo, the thread." Thalen looked down at her hands, glowing faintly. "I am not the girl who fell. I am what she became when the memory of her became powerful enough to transcend biology. My mind staggered under the weight of it. Not reincarnation, not resurrection, continuity through emotion. "You're not just a person," I whispered. "You're a pattern wrapped in form, and I chose to remember you, she said, even before I knew what you were. We stood aboard a ship no longer bound by conventional propulsion. The woven had activated something ancient, threadfall, a corridor of collapsed moments, like folded space stitched through memory rather than mass. Where does it lead? I asked. To the Nexus Cradle, Entariel said, the place the Devourers fear, where origin and end spiral together, where all remembered truths converge. And what waits there? She paused. The choice. We launched the universe, peeled apart. No stars, no planets, just glowing threads like constellations of nerve endings, each vibrating with echoes of lives once lived. Through them flowed all thought, forgotten lullabies, battlefield screams, lovers' oaths, broken. Apologies, my cockpit disappeared. My body evaporated. I was memory now, woven directly into the current. I saw my own life in reverse, my escape from Acheron Drift, half dead, full of guilt. My days as a salvager, chasing ghosts. The moment I first heard Thalian's voice. The flicker of a life unlived, where I raised Sarayan's daughter. Each thread vibrated with what could have been. And in that kaleidoscope of might-have-beens, I found truth. Our memories aren't chains, they're maps. We emerged inside a living construct, the cradle, shaped like a blossom built of light. Petals of memory folded over a core of silence. At its center stood a being, Varanis Core, but not as I remembered. He was younger now, whole, no implants, no corruption, the version of him before the betrayal. Welcome, he said, not unkindly. You should be dead, I said. I am, in some paths. In others, I never turned. Here, I'm only possibility. He gestured around us. The cradle lets us confront not our enemies, but our choices. I didn't come here to destroy. I came to be forgiven. And yet, you caused the drift collapse, I snapped. He nodded. In most timelines. But in one, I warned you. I tried to stop it. I was overwritten. You didn't listen. I couldn't have known. Exactly, he said, stepping forward. And now you can. Entariel placed her hand on my shoulder. To end the Devourers, she said, someone must unweave the path they hide in. Someone must erase the possibility of their version of truth. Varanis looked at me. That someone is you. You're the anomaly, the woven born from grief and love. Your memory binds reality tighter than physics. My hands trembled. If I do this, what happens? You choose, Thalen said softly. Choose what? The memory that stays. The cradle offered me 3 threads. 3 truths. A life where Sarayan's daughter survived, and I raised her on a forgotten world, away from war. A life where I stopped the extractors, and Earth never descended into entropy. A life where Thalian never existed, and the woven remained legend, unawakened. Each thread pulsed with potential, each offered salvation and loss. If I chose the first, I would never have met Thalian. She would never have come to find me. If I chose the second, the Devourers might never rise, but neither would I. If I chose the third, all this pain would vanish. The woven would never suffer, but no memory would endure. I turned to her. What should I do? She smiled. Tears in her eyes. I don't want to vanish, she whispered, but I was born from your pain. That was never fair to you. But you're real, I said. So are the memories, she replied. I reached out and chose. I chose the middle thread. The war, the betrayals, the pain, but also the connection, the love, the learning, the woven. I would remember it all. My mind snapped, not in destruction, but in expansion. The Devourers screamed across realities as their hiding places burned in threads of clarity. The woven sang. Across galaxies, beings remembered who they were, not who they were told to be. Bonds reforged, sundered timelines stitched. Varanis faded, smiling. Entariel whispered one last phrase. Your memory is your weapon and your sanctuary. And then she was gone. I woke up alone, on a ship I didn't recognize, in orbit over a quiet moon. A girl sat across from me, same glow in her eyes, same voice. "Morning," Thalen said. "You're still here?" "You remembered me," she said. "That's enough." I looked at her, truly saw her, not as a ghost, not as a creation, as a daughter. "Come on," I said, smiling. "Let's write a new memory." She reached out, I took her hand, and together we walked into the next.
Thread.